Welcome to episode 16 of Chats. Today we're talking about Black History Month and fitness. I'm Corbin.
I'm Sarah.
And yeah, so
it doesn't seem like a tie-in, does it?
No, it doesn't. We have a ongoing thing of having two subjects have nothing to do with each other. But
we had a plan last week.
Yeah, we hinted it last week that we were going to do a full episode on Black History Month to celebrate it and to spread awareness. Sadly, though, we are going through a list of films that people would recommend.
I did 15 great movies for kids and families that are considered accurate representations in honor of Black History Month.
Yeah.
And we went through the list, and we've seen most of them, but we had not seen all of them. And because we like to be thorough when we do these types of things, like we did with the, the Christmas movies and stuff like that, we try to be as accurate as we can. We thought on the weekend, okay, we're gonna marathon, we're gonna watch a bunch of these movies because out of 15, I think we'd seen just more than half.
Yeah.
And in the case of To Kill a Mockingbird, we actually had both read it, and you saw the movie as well.
Yes, both.
So we were fine with that. But then at the end of the day, we thought, well, we can't, to only talk about some of the more current movies. If we haven't, looked at all these movies, is it really fair to go into some of them? And a couple of them were documentaries, which I was really keen.
Yeah.
So I think what we need to say is kind of a bad on you to some of our streaming platforms, because we have Netflix, we have Crave,
and Amazon.
and we have Amazon Prime.
Yeah. And we couldn't find any of the other half of those movies that we were trying to find on those Canadian platforms, because this website lists them all on. It's an American website.
Yeah.
So they're saying, you can find it on Netflix USA and stuff like that, but they weren't specific with it. So,
or in the case of Amazon, you could buy the movie and have it shipped to your house.
Yeah.
So there wasn't necessarily a streaming option. So I was very disappointed with that, because I was really excited about doing this. And because, as we've talked before about, trying to come from a place of, we want to talk about things that are important and positivity. And I think that it would have been great to kind of, look at some of these things and get into a dialogue about some of these movies and why we feel they're important, or which one we liked better, or what resonated with us. Mm-hmm. But again, considering only half of a list of 15 we were able to watch, I didn't think it was really something that would be fair to get into. No. However, just yesterday, as we were debating what we would
talk about,
it ends up that we find out, that, let me just, sorry, I don't want to get the name right here, Katherine Johnson, who was pretty much the main character in the movie Hidden Figures. She was which
was one of the movies on the list.
Yeah, one of our Black History Month movies, which we've both seen.
Yes.
We have an announcement that Katherine Johnson, who was the center of the Hidden Figures movie, passed away yesterday at the age of 101. And if, just to refresh your memory, she's the woman who moved from kind of the pool of women working in this side room before the computers and technology came in. It moved over into being basically, she was brilliant and was the reason why they were able to successfully launch a manned rocket and then bring it back to Earth safely. Mm-hmm. So, little moment for Katherine Johnson and her contributions to mankind and technology and space travel. I thought that was just very interesting that here we're on the last week of Black History Month and such an icon was lost.
And she passed away at age 101.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite a bit, She lived a full life. Not all of it being pretty, though. In the film, there's a lot. Not only is it racial struggles, but also gender struggles. With one of the more not memorable, but one of the more impactful scenes is the scene where it's raining out and she has to run like halfway across this facility at the early stages of NASA to get to the bathroom.
Yes.
Because there was no colored women's bathroom.
Well, because it was segregated.
Yes.
You have to remember, when he's saying colored, that's what it was referred to at the time.
Yeah.
But for black people, you weren't allowed to use a public bathroom.
Yeah.
So it was deemed colored at the time.
Yeah. So she had to go all the way across this campus
yeah.
facility, and the time it would take her would be incredible because she's wearing formal wear, as you had to back in the day, and it's pouring rain, so she's soaking, sopping wet, sitting at her desk, and it's just one of those. That's just one of the very few or very many problems and
very specific problem.
Yes. Yeah. That she had to overcome and struggles she had to overcome in her life. And 101 years, especially, thinking about 100 years ago, that's a long time. Not a lot of people experience over a century of life.
Yeah, and they showed a video of her the last couple of years, and she was just as sharp, and she had a sense of humor.
Yes.
And thankfully, she was recognized for her contributions.
Yes, back in 2015, I believe.
Yeah, they've named a building at NASA after her. I believe there's a school named after her. Like, there was some recognition, especially after that movie came out, when people... I never knew that story.
No.
I had no idea that was the case.
And that's sadly that history books don't teach people, right? We all know Neil Armstrong.
It's a very white version
yes.
of history, and that's a whole other topic we can get into another day. But the getting actual history as opposed to the pasteurized version of history, I think, is important.
Yeah.
And just if you can hear in the background, our dog Roman is just a barking full right now. In case you can hear him, we've got him in the garage, but for some reason I think he's just having a day where he just wants to bark at everything. So I apologize if that's coming through to you. But
he wants to be on the podcast.
He wants to. Can you imagine him in the closet?
Oh no. There wouldn't be
He'd
enough
probably
room.
love it. Yeah, it would be very squishy.
You'd hear him panting, very heavy,
That's
breathing
right.
heavy.
So to wrap up there, we're disappointed that we couldn't do more with that, and maybe we can find, maybe that's our research for next year for Black History Month, is to get those movies in when we can get them, like try and watch them as much as possible.
Yeah, streaming services change monthly.
Yeah.
But we will keep an eye on that. But one other thing we saw following the passing of Miss Johnson was that there was an astronaut who they had a bunch of numbers in an equation that was instrumental in...
That was for the return entry of the pod.
And they did it through a computer, and he said he wasn't going to do it unless Miss Johnson went and rechecked the numbers.
That was Neil Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong said that. And so she went through and checked the numbers, and it was all good. But just the fact that someone put so much trust into her, yet there was such little recognition and respect given.
That's the thing, the respect.
That was insane.
But I really love the fact that he was willing to put everything on hold until she gave it the clear, and he had faith in her to say, if you say it's safe, I will do it. Like what an amazing moment for her to have such gravitas and recognition and weight given to her opinion and her knowledge. Mm-hmm. She apparently graduated, didn't they say she graduated high school at 15?
Yeah.
And then she got like 2 degrees by the time she was 18. Like she was
brilliant. Genius.
Yeah.
Mathematician levels.
Yeah. And still subjected to, I mean, not that anyone deserves it, but to think that she was probably more intellectual and had a higher IQ than many of the people she was in the room with, and still treated the way she was. Insane. Yeah. Insane.
Speaking of Black history, I just thought of a story that is I think it's one of a cool story. It involves a Canadian. It involves, I saw this a year ago on the History Channel.
Okay.
And it is the first interracial kiss on television. And this was back on Star Trek.
Yes, I remember this.
Yeah, so Captain Kirk.
William Shatner.
Okay, William Shatner is on this show, and he's the star. Like, they're pretty deep into the show at this point.
He's definitely got star power when this comes up, right?
Yeah, and so there's a scene between him and his female cast member,
Lieutenant Uhura.
Yes, and she is Nichelle Nichols.
Yep, Nichelle Nichols.
Nichelle Nichols, and they kept on saying, "You're going to hug." Or you're going to just show affection somehow. Embrace.
Yeah.
And William Shatner was because Nichelle and William were both, why can't these characters have feelings for each other.
In this moment, they would probably kiss.
Yeah, it seems most realistic. But the producers and
The
the behind the
executives
people
were not, yeah.
weren't having any of it. So they did.
Again, thinking back to the time.
Yeah.
This is the 60s. It was a very much a hot button topic.
Yes.
It was
and it was
not,
the first. It hadn't been done before.
No.
On television.
And this was not an era of groundbreaking TV.
No.
You didn't want to do anything to upset your audiences, which would upset your advertisers, which would upset your bank account.
Especially with Star Trek, which was such a hot property back in the day.
It was probably the most popular TV show at that time. One of them, anyway.
So William Shatner convinces the execs to do multiple shots. Do one kissing and one without, and see which one they like better. And obviously, the execs were going to choose the one that was not kissing. So they do one where they kiss. It's a great shot. And they go back and they do another one where they embrace. And
they do it a couple of times.
They do it a couple of times. And each time William Shatner does cross eyes.
He crossed his eyes.
He crossed his eyes and looked directly at the camera. So they could not use it. And eventually they just gave up. They're like, fine, we'll have this in.
And they thought it would be horrible. They thought they would get such backlash. And instead, the opposite happened. And Star Trek's, cult following really comes from the fact that they were embracing of different cultures and beliefs. And I mean, every time they went to a different planet, they never went with this domineering.
Stigma.
Yeah, they always went to another planet, to understand and to learn and blah blah blah.
Which is a little hypocritical of the execs, but
yes,
that's how it is.
It was an altruistic vision, but anyway. So that
it's one of those stories.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. That's a really good story. I'd forgotten about. I knew about it, but I'd forgotten about it.
It was a while ago, but it's one of those things that sticks with me, where it's like,
and it meant a lot to her too. I remember her being interviewed and saying,
it's degrading.
He put a lot on the line because at that time, a white male actor would not stick his neck out like that, personally or professionally, and the fact that he did. And he ensured that the actual kiss would be used. That showed to her that he really did value her and she's equal and that there's no reason for her to be treated any less than.
It's one of those stories that sticks with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's a good one.
Yeah. So apologies once again about the
Black lack of Black History Month content. We're getting basically a third of the podcast is Black History Month, but certainly not to the extent that we had hoped for. And like I say, we did have a whole block of time. We were looking forward to a good old-fashioned marathon because we'd seen about half the movies. Here we look at these other movies, and even if we didn't get to see all of them, if we'd been able to see just get a majority,
we just felt half wasn't enough. We felt it wouldn't do it justice.
Yeah.
If not.
And being that we're white, we don't want to come across as being patronizing. We want to come from a place of...
We don't want to stretch it. We want to,
be authentic with it.
Exactly.
So that's the end of the Black History Month portion of the podcast. Yeah. And we will move into something that we've kind of talked about pretty much from the beginning of the podcast. Yeah. Do you want me to jump in here?
Well, I'll start off because it's been a long run. Not only have we talked about having this as a discussion part of the podcast, but also just we've been debating about having it be throughout the other podcasts where I'd say the gym, January 1st wasn't too busy. Yeah. And I said midway through January, it's crazy busy, new people. And now we're
at the
late,
end of February.
All the same people, like the dailies were there, like me, who were there constantly.
In December? Yeah. Are still there now.
They're still there now, but the people who I didn't recognize in mid-January, I'm not seeing it. And they have a list of people on the wall who have to pay still, or their membership will be gone. February is huge.
That big drop-off after the resolutions and it's because they do incentives too.
They do.
At the gyms.
The February, like the end of February, so like the 29th, I believe, is the day. It's a huge list of people's names. Is
that not like shaming? Are they like...
No, I think it's by the door. It's not like it's in the gym, but it's just a reminder. Like if you're, it's by the desk
that you're due.
Yeah, it's a reminder. So
a little peer pressure there.
I know. So it was interesting to see that, but we thought it'd be an interesting topic to bring up and discuss fitness in general.
Yeah, and body image and for males and females with their own perspectives and what that looks like and well, for you, and we'll start picking on you.
Yeah, I can take it.
You were never the type of kid that wanted to go out and run around all the time. You were much more, you liked playing, you had your stories, you had your imagination,
action
things like
figures, twigs and stuff.
Yeah.
But
we got you into hockey.
Yeah.
So that was well, actually, before that, I think you played, around the same time, you played a year of soccer, and then hockey, and then baseball. We got rid of soccer once.
Yeah.
We're a ball family, people, hate to tell you.
It was hockey and baseball almost until the end of my public school. It was grade 7, I think, where I stopped due to injury. Yeah. But
it was always funny because you enjoyed the social aspect of it, but you weren't necessarily into wanting to be the fastest. Some kids are competitive or like, I got to be the fastest,
or their
be
parents
the strongest.
would really be like, I'll pay you to get a goal, and then it just wouldn't be fun.
You had the wrong parents, apparently.
I know. I would have been rich by now. No, it was just one of those things where it's almost like I should have been on a rec team or like a pickup team, which they obviously didn't have for people my age.
But you were on house most of the time.
Yeah, instead of like a really competitive team, because when I was on the competitive teams, it was always kids trying to be the fastest, trying to be the best, which is good, but not when you're 8 years old. You don't have to be Sidney Crosby, and a lot of those kids thought they were going to go on to do NHL level things, which they still
that's a culture. There's a lot of pressure there.
So fitness has always been there for me.
You've been active. We tried to encourage you with being active, but you weren't really into the team thing. And then suddenly you came to us in high school, near the end of high school, and I can remember being absolutely gobsmacked because the thing that was most striking for me was you said, "So I'm gonna start running, and I'm gonna run." Oh, sorry, I just blanked.
Oh, 10K.
I'm gonna run a 10K. And if anybody had come to me and said that my second-born son was going to run a 10K, I'd say, you've mistaken my child for someone else. Because Corbin, you never ran.
No.
You'd run in baseball.
And even at track and field at public school, I'd always be 100-meter dash.
You were a sprinter. Yeah.
But even before...
And it was more of a fun thing. It was never like you had a passion for running or anything like that.
But even before the 10K, because that came with a fitness class I did, little workouts on the year before at the school gym. Did some stuff at home with a couple weights.
This was more your grade 11 year. Grade 11, grade 12.
And then grade 12, 13, I did 2 fitness classes, which was funny because usually that's one fitness class first semester, the other second semester.
And just to be clear, the reason why he was taking so many fitness classes is because that was pretty much all that was open in the times that he had available in his victory lap year to work with the things he needed to take. There were other things that you could have taken, but it would be like grade 12 biology, and you didn't have any other biology to support that. So you might as well get in there and use your fitness classes.
And I was interested. So it had never been done before because these classes had never been in the same semester, back to back like they were.
Which worked out so well for you.
It did. I as I said, I had worked out a little bit. It wasn't anything game-changing. But when I started these fitness classes, the fitness teachers came to me and said, because they knew I wasn't on sports teams or, I was on a couple, but not crazy like some of the other kids. And they said, Are you sure you want to do this? Do you want to maybe, take another class? And I said,
you weren't the stereotypical jock. That's the thing, right?
And I told them, I said, no, I'll try this. So, not only I was always doing weights, and I always people I'm a slimmer build, and a lot of the guys like me who are slim want to look up to Arnold and stuff like that. So before the class, Arnold, I won't get into that again.
I don't think you can handle the giggling for me.
But before I got to the fitness class, I always looked up to Arnold because he was huge, jacked, ripped. Mm-hmm. But once I got into fitness class and once I started talking to Mom about fitness, I know.
Oh, he's giving me credit for something I am.
Take this woman in.
No idea. I might just play this on a loop. You go ahead and finish, and then I'll fill in the blank there.
But once I got into the class and spoke to Mom, I realized that fitness as a whole isn't Arnold.
No.
Fitness as a whole is more of Bruce Lee. And when I say that is, Bruce Lee was always looking for ways to improve himself physically, and not only physically, but it helped him mentally. And so he would do he would be working on his flexibility, his strength, his endurance, his cardio, and there's so much. And so
the whole package.
The whole package.
Not just creating something with your body, which not to take away from bodybuilding, but that's what you're doing. You're looking to create something different with your body, whatever your frame is, to change it and enhance it or manipulate it to look a certain way. It's not necessarily, and I know I kind of get a little twisty when Arnold comes out with these things where he says about fitness and health. It's like, yes, he eats well. He does have a healthy lifestyle.
Intense workouts, weight workouts. But
I think the big thing that I was able to get through to you about, because Corbin was working out weights, and of course having this, a couple of classes, you got a kid that's fairly slim with not a huge amount of shape.
Never been a runner.
No, who's over 6 feet at this point. And you see him suddenly getting shoulders and getting arms and, taking protein powders and talking, watching the documentaries and things like that. But for me, the big thing was when I was able to show you the difference on Dwayne Johnson's reality show for fitness called the Titan Games.
Yes, great show, by the way.
And it's coming back for a second season.
Second season, you guys should check it out.
That's our promo for the Titan Games. But really, the first season was riveting because you could sit there and you could look at a guy and, not just to give an example, you'd have a guy that was like a cop or a firefighter who was built like just a brick house, right? Like just huge. And these guys were great in the smash and bash parts of the course, but when it came to agility, when it came to speed, when it came to any kind of quick movement or endurance, they were done. No. And I said that to you, and I said, okay, look at this guy, because I remember you being really impressed with the physique of some of these guys. And it's like, okay, but look at how he can't jump. He can't run as fast as this guy over here.
He can't be agile quick on his feet. He can't lift his leg past his hip. Things like that where,
or he struggles. It's that much more effort because the muscle groups that he's using, right?
Yeah, and it tires him out more, and he doesn't have the endurance to keep that up for a long amount of time.
Right. And so going back to Arnold, we're going to have to get you to do an Arnold before the end of the episode. But to go back to Arnold, again, it's amazing how it all lined up, because I think we saw a movie of his, like one of his like late 80s movies, like a Kindergarten Cop.
Yeah.
And you watch him run, and you realize he can't run well. This isn't a comfort. He couldn't sustain that.
No.
If he's playing a police officer and he has to
it's
run.
Up close shots.
Yeah, it's like okay, Arnold, give us 10 seconds of running. Yeah. That's it. Okay. And
not saying that Arnold can't run for more than 10 seconds, but saying he doesn't have the form. He doesn't have, there's a lot that goes into running.
The muscles are not trained in that way. So again, looking at it from a standpoint of a mom, my concern was, is my son feeling pressure or has an expectation of himself to look a certain way because of what he sees with these very macho male role models like Arnold.
Yep.
And I know you had others that you were following at the time too. So when you look at that, I very much believe, and I know we've talked about this previously, that there's just as much pressure for males on how their bodies look as there are for females about how their bodies look.
Yes.
And I know from conversations that you've had that, and your brother has said as well, guys can be brutal to other guys.
Oh, yeah.
Making comments about whether or not you have a six-pack or your arms aren't big enough.
Well, and I've had, teachers at my old school that, like, unironically, like, very seriously were, like, before I was in the fitness classes, the year before when I was just working out.
Right.
Well, I'll never forget whether they genuinely were like, you're going to try and make those twigs into tiny branches, huh? And, like, they would genuinely say that, like, not as a joke.
Yeah.
Just that. And it was really, discouraging to hear that. And that's a lot of people have that problem. When I talk to so many of my friends and so many people about the gym and about how I go, like, daily, they always say, that's crazy you can do that, because, and I say, well, why? And they say, the atmosphere of the gym is too much for them.
Negative or toxic.
Yeah, or the pressure they put on themselves. But there is a lot, as you said, at least from what I can see about the male side of things, where there's a lot of, body shaming almost from guy to guy.
Or pressure. Competitiveness.
And in those fitness classes, the majority were men or males. Man, there was a good chunk of females as well, but the majority were males, and they were all kind of either like me, where they were trying to bulk up, or people who were trying to lose weight. It was not someone in the middle. It was people who almost had something to prove to themselves, who wanted to.
So everybody kind of came in with their own less than ideal motivation.
Mm-hmm. Actually, there was one person who came in, two people who came in on their own, who thought they were all that in a bag of chips physically, and the rest of us didn't really not get along, but we didn't really interact with them.
Yeah, they were in their own lane, sort of thing.
Yeah, because just the way they were and some of the things they'd say about other people in the class, it's just
divisive.
You need to be positive in the gym. And you really need to just encourage people because everyone's there for the same reason.
Well, and that's the thing is, who knows what their motivation was when they first started getting fit or being aware of their fitness.
Yeah.
You don't, maybe they, we talked about this too, about mental health is vastly impacted and improved by people who are looking to be more active and the endorphins that are released as a result. And you found that yourself. The times that you were feeling frustrated and struggling with stuff, as soon as you started being active on a regular basis.
It helps a lot. Yeah. And it obviously doesn't take it away, but it helps a lot.
It's a management tool, I think.
Yeah. And one of my, a boxer I look up to, Tyson Fury, I was telling you about him the other day, about how he won the championships. He won all the belts and
what
titles.
What title does he have?
Well, he had all of the
They just give a little
heavyweight
context. So.
Yeah, the heavyweight championship of the world. He had it, won it, and after that, he spiraled. He got into a depression, and he put on a bunch of weight. He obviously retired from boxing, gave up the titles.
This was a couple years ago, though.
2014-ish.
Okay.
And he was very depressed. And it wasn't until he had that moment where he realized he needed to get help. And he realized that, the pills that he was getting weren't helping, or some of the therapy wasn't helping as much as he wished. It wasn't until he got back in the gym, back into training himself and, help, and getting those endorphins, as you said. He said that's the thing that helps him. And he says it's not going to help everyone.
And it's not perfect.
It's not perfect. He just had an interview where he said, you're never going to permanently get rid of it. It's a maintenance thing.
It could make the difference between not being able to get out of bed and having an okay day.
Yeah. So it was a great interview, and I recommend you guys go check out, I think it's the Joe Rogan podcast with Tyson Fury, because he explains all of this. Oh, cool. And he talks about a lot about nutrition and stuff, a lot of stuff that I talked about, which is obviously the helping the mental factor of fitness, but also avoid sugar. Sugar's bad.
Well, and diet is so important.
Yes.
With overall health, with mental clarity, with mental health, because if you're not feeling good physically, mentally it's a struggle too, right?
Yeah, and I follow a lot of fitness people on Instagram and stuff like that, and one thing that I can agree with is if you don't have a good diet, no matter how hard you work out, you're not going to get anywhere.
That's right.
And when I did the 2 back-to-back fitness classes, which arguably was me, peak fitness, even now, I haven't been able to work out as much as I did, and I haven't been eating as clean as I did. I made a promise to myself. I said no fast food, and I had spinach salad, veggies, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember there were a couple times where we'd be out as a family, and you guys would say, "You guys want to grab a burger or something like that?" I said, "No, I'll wait till I get home." Yeah, and you were like, "Wow."
That was such a change for you because you were the takeout kid or fast food kid. It would be, sign me up for whatever. Yeah. And then when I find out sometimes, like you say, about a year ago, you weren't eating quite as well as you could be, and how many times you were eating fast food. And you even commented yourself, you felt like crap. You weren't feeling good, and your body was changing shape again, because your body doesn't process it as well. No. Oh, can we tell the story about the protein?
Yes, you can. This is the segment of the podcast where mom gets to say that she was right.
No, because you're the one that said I was right.
I know.
So, again, being new to weightlifting and being more physical, and with the culture, with some of your peers of, you have to be taking, certain proteins and to make up for the calories burned, and you want proper calories going in. You don't want crap. And then Corbin comes home with this ginormous bag of gainer. If you don't know what mass gainer is, well, you go ahead. It's a protein that is...
There's many types of different protein, but this was whey mass gainer protein, which is practically protein with a bunch of stuff that you probably can't pronounce. Filler put into it to give extra calories. So if I put 2 scoops...
With the idea of gaining weight.
Yes.
Like, it's not just called gainer...
muscle
as a name. It's supposed to bulk you up.
Yeah. So say I had just regular whey protein, just straight up protein, which is the best for you.
Clean protein.
Yeah. Where it would give me maybe 100 calories a scoop.
Mm-hmm.
This stuff, if I put 1 scoop in, it would give me around 250 calories.
Dear God.
But the thing is that with everything because I put peanut butter, the milk,
spinach,
and all the other stuff you put into it, I had over 1,000 calories in one shake.
Drink. Yeah.
And I was doing this for a while, and I have photos that I look back at where I was putting on size. I was.
Oh, you were your shoulders, your chest,
but I
wasn't.
I wasn't getting anywhere because this was around the time where I realized that maybe the Arnold body isn't all of it, because I realized I wasn't getting any faster. I wasn't. The endurance wasn't going anywhere, which protein should help with, and it should help define the muscles.
But again, that's the difference in the fuel. That's the point, right?
Yes. So, the mass gainer I was having, 1,000 calories a drink, and it was really it was a lot of body fat putting on. Not a lot, but it was more body fat than it was muscle.
Well, and that was the conversation, because you were almost using it as a meal supplement, because it was so filling that he'd drink one of these things. Because, when you think about it, think of like a large McDonald's takeout cup.
Yeah.
It's bigger. It's wider than that cup, the cups that you were drinking. So to drink that much of this gainer, this bulk protein, and so you're not eating the proper things. And I'd say that to him. I'd say, you can actually get protein in your everyday meals. The idea of taking protein, and I take protein shakes. The idea of taking protein is to be able to supplement.
Yeah.
Like if it's a time where it's like, I'm eating fairly light and I need a little more protein in my diet, here's a way to do it, but not to have it as a meal replacement plan, which is what was kind of happening.
Yeah.
And what did you do when I told you that?
I said, Mom, I don't know if you know what you're talking about.
No, you said I know you don't know what you're talking about. So I just backed off, because again, you want to be very sensitive when you're raising sons. You don't want to make a body image issue or a food intake issue. But I thought, I'm going to keep an eye on this. And then what happened?
Well, one of the YouTubers I was following made a video saying, stop taking mass gainers. And I watched it, and he made a lot of good points. But what I didn't realize is those points were very similar to the points Mom made only a few months earlier. The only difference is I immediately threw out the mass gainer and started buying clean, no BS protein.
Yes.
And so
the moment that my head blew off was when he turned to me in the supplement store and started telling me, we were here in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And you told me that you were going to get rid of this because Mom, you really should be eating protein in your diet.
I genuinely forgot about what she said. It wasn't like I was rubbing in her face, like being a dink.
I think your dad... Okay, but you were. And your dad was there too. And the two of us were just like, the jaws dropped.
Yeah.
And I think you realized probably midway through the statement, the irony of what you were saying.
Yeah.
It was a moment for the ages.
It was. But that's one of the things is that I got the information about the mass gainer. It wasn't like I walked into the store one day and got it.
But that's where there's a lot of information out there.
A lot of incorrect information. And that's why it's very important to triple check the sources. Yep. And the thing is, though, is that if it works for you, give it a try. And if you'll find out, you're the best expert on yourself. If you'll find out very quickly if
what's working or not
what's
working.
working and what's not working.
And to be clear on that point too is, because your goal wasn't to bulk up like Arnold, that wasn't the path for you.
Yeah.
And you just want to be careful what your motivation is for any kind of physical fitness, and make sure it's a healthy choice, and you're not doing it to impress someone else or because you're trying to emulate someone. I mean, it's certainly good to have a goal to say, hey, I like this look, I like this body type.
And yeah.
But if you're being obsessive about it, or you're damaging your health, or you're taking, God forbid, steroids, that's a whole separate issue.
And there's people I know who do that, and it's like,
and that's sad.
It's sad
because there's so many risks with doing that, and if you don't sustain it, you lose. There are no results. It's an inflated effect. And as soon as you continue that for any length of time, there's a whole new world of problems that you end up having.
And the thing is that, building off your point of, not being, unhappy with yourself, a lot of people choose a number to lose weight for, or to gain weight.
Or to gaining weight is as much of a thing as losing weight.
Yes, I agree with that. And that's what I always kind of struggle with. This is where I want to be at weight-wise. And during my fitness classes, I was in great shape, like really good shape, but I was building muscle, like adding weight, which was good weight, but it was never the goal weight that I had. But looking back now,
because you had a number in your head.
Yeah, I had 190, and I was around 185. And looking back now, at the shape I was in, I should have. It was almost discouraging that I wasn't hitting the number, and that's maybe why I stopped doing it for a while between the school year and the summer. But the thing was that I was happy with how I looked, though. I should have been happy with how I looked, because
you looked very good. You looked healthy, and you looked fit, and you looked filled out, but you didn't look
huge,
massive, ripped.
No. But that's because I was doing. I need to be flexible for the running. I think the running was huge, and I need to get back into that soon. But
well, we're still dealing with a knee thing. So once the knee thing is resolved, we'll get you back into running again.
But it's one of those things where you have to be dedicated for it, and you have to have the motivation. Because I have this weird, not only this weird motivation to get into the gym, at least 5 days a week, but it's also for me mentally. But a lot of people don't have the motivation to do it back to back. Doing it. Keep on doing it. There's been a lot of friends of mine that I've tried to help out because they say, "Oh, can you help me do this or spot me?" And they don't have the motivation. So that's the main thing.
Well, that's not their path then.
No,
maybe not right now, or they might come back to it.
Yeah, and that's nothing wrong. I'm just saying to people out there who are thinking about it, make sure you have that motivation. Find your motivation, whatever it is, and shoot for that.
Well, and I think the fact that you're going to the gym, little behind the scenes story. Corbin's girlfriend, her family did a family membership and included Corbin in the membership, which I thought was very generous and a really amazing gift, knowing the type of person you are. Even though we do have weights here in the house, but until you're able to get your knee fixed, there's only so much you can do with the weights. So being able to get out into a different environment that has a varied range of machines that you're able to utilize that don't necessarily put wear and tear on the knees.
Yeah.
And the fact that you and your girlfriend have been so dedicated to go, you guys go just about every day through the week.
Yeah.
And sometimes you go on weekends. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
But rest days are important too. I mean, not that it's not being overdone. It's not unhealthy. It's not obsessive. It's actually, considering where we live, it's a great date night.
Yeah, it is.
Because there's not a lot going on. Not a lot to do in this area. So to make it a healthy thing, and I know you've said that you've been able to give her some tips and help her with some techniques, which is great. So it's like a couple bonding thing, right?
It is. But to wrap it all up, going back to the running, because at the start with the fitness class, you either ran a 5-kilometer run at the end of the semester, or you ran a 10-kilometer run. And my fitness teachers, who once upon a time said, maybe you shouldn't do 2 classes, at the same time, they said they came around a couple months into it and said, yeah, how about, since you're doing 5-kilometer runs, per class. So technically I was doing around 10K, 8-kilometer runs in a day, back to back, to help train for the big run at the end. They said, you should, in theory, be able to do a 10-kilometer run at the end. And I, as Mom said, never been a runner. So it was very concerning for me, and I never thought I could do it. Never, ever. And even during the race, there were moments where I stopped on the side of the road and, I took a moment for myself because I thought, there were things that were, a little sore. There were and not that I was ill prepared, but it's one of those things where.
But were they timing you as well? It was your best time.
It was my goal to get under an hour, and this was the first ever time I'd ever run. The second time I've done this. There was a day before where we did a quick run through of a 10K just to get a feel for where we were running. But today was the main day, and I wanted to get it under an hour. And I was pushing myself, and I told my gym teacher I was going to come out like it was a 100-meter dash for the last 100 meters. Like, you wouldn't be able to tell that I just ran a 10K. And he's like, yeah, right. And there was only a few other students who did the 10K. One was a freak of nature who did track and cross country, and he did in like, I think 38 minutes. It was crazy.
But he was a seasoned runner.
He was a seasoned runner.
Okay, not the same thing.
No, and there were three other guys who two of which had done the class before and done the 10K before, and another person who had run before in either a marathon or something. He was out of town, not from the area, but so I go and I'm running and I'm behind everyone, and I get to the halfway point and I'm keeping good pace. But I get to the halfway point and he says it's been around like over 30 minutes, and if I want to get under half an hour or an hour, I'm gonna have to book it. Like, I'm gonna have to increase my speed. And at this point, I passed the guy out of town. From out of town, I passed one of the guys who did the class beforehand.
Yeah.
And there was the other kid who did the class beforehand in front of me, and I was coming up over one of the last hills, and I just remember like my side was like it was almost. Yeah,
you get that stitch in your side,
the side. And I just remember, like, almost feeling like I want to be sick because I felt like I had so much pressure on myself, and I thought I could never do it. And it's one of those moments I literally, it's one of those dumb macho moments where I hit my other leg to take away from the pain of the side, because the side was brutal.
Yeah.
And I did a little yell, and I remember the guy up ahead who was in front of me turning around and being like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
And it's just that little bit of self-belief I needed to go and take off, and I passed him near the end because I came out like a rocket at the end.
Right.
And my gym teacher, who was one of the people who said at the very start, before the fitness classes, oh, you're gonna be work out and be an athlete, he admitted, he's like, you came out crazy. You were the fastest guy to finish it. I had given my all.
Right.
Before that.
You're the strongest finish.
Yes. Not that I didn't have a strong start. I gave it my all.
Yeah.
I put it all out there. So. And
you were very proud of that. I
was.
remember talking to you about that afterward, and you really felt, rightfully so, very proud of that accomplishment.
Yeah. And so I got my goal. It was 51 minutes. So it was under an hour.
By a good bit.
By a good bit. And the day I did it beforehand, it was like over an hour. It was by quite a bit.
So it was your personal best that
It was
day.
my personal best, and the second time ever doing it. And I just remember being like, it's crazy. And that's one of the motivation things, is when you start out, you have it in your mind that you'll never get your goal. You won't be able to do it. But the thing is, you have to have that weird, crazy little belief in yourself that you can.
And you're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And you set a goal and you achieve the goal. And that's a huge accomplishment right there.
Yeah. And everyone's fitness journey is different. You don't have to do a 10K. You could be a weightlifter. That could be your thing where, you want to have a new PR for bench press.
Yeah.
That could be your 10K.
Yeah.
You could try and do, a different yoga pose, or, do a more intense yoga workout. That could be your 10K.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I think fitness is one of the most inclusive yet exclusive, and the most fulfilling yet at the start unfulfilling things in the world.
It's complex.
It is very complex, but it has the chat seal of approval for something that everyone should try at least once.
Well, and I know we really spent today talking about the male perspective, so maybe when we
Yes.
come back next week, we'll talk about the female perspective. But I think that's been a really good talk to have, because people, there's so much pressure to be fit or look a certain way, and I think it's been very good to kind of get into the male perspective of other people in comparison, and like you say, feedback from mentors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we want to hear from you guys, though. Let us know if you've got any stories about your fitness journey, or how you've overcome challenges in your fitness journey, because that's certainly very motivational to share those.
Or something to do with Black History Month. What is your favorite story, real life event, or movie
Yes.
of yours that you like to celebrate Black History Month, or you feel would be a good fit for Black History Month? We'd love to hear that.
Yeah.
Where can they get in touch with us?
They can email us at chatspodcast@gmail.com. You can also comment on our Facebook page, and we would love to have you share your thoughts and feedback there. Also, make sure you're recommending the podcast to friends, and just let them know that it's a friendly conversation and an easy way to kind of sit with friends and talk about different topics that are topical or comedic. I can't even talk. Sometimes comedic. And we need an Arnold moment. Can you give us an Arnold?
My name is Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I don't like what you guys said about me. Not at all. I am the peak of human perfection.
And I'm done again. Oh my God.
Well, thank you, Arnold.
Thank you, Arnold.
This has been me, Corbin.
And Sarah.
And thank you guys for listening, and stay tuned for our next chats.